Hey guys, I'm doing a May raids wrap up for the month. I showed you earlier this month that I was challenging myself to read 4 books. Excuse me. But I pushed myself and read even more than that. Usually I average between 2 and 3 books a month. I had read a total of 6 books. And I am very proud of myself because usually, like I said, I don't read this much in a month. And if I can read this much in a month, I know I could read a lot more than that. Even though I am in the middle of another book, I just know I wouldn't have been able to finish it by the time the month ended. So I figured I'll just do a video on what I have read. The first book I read was Courting Ruth by Emma Miller. I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. I found this a very relatable book, all because of what these two couples go through. This is an Amish story, but even though it's Amish, it's still relatable. The two main characters is Ruth Yoder and Eli Lapp. Eli was born into the Amish community. Things happened to his family that caused him to be straying away from it and more into the non-Amish community, where believe in like motorcycles and vehicles and music and whatnot. And then there was apparently some trouble where he was living, and his family sent him off to live with his uncle, who lived in an Amish community in another state. From the get-go, he met Ruth, who helps out her mother at home with her siblings because her dad's gone. He passed away when she was younger, and she deals with a sibling who has Down syndrome. So she always felt she would be a spinster, considering she was already in her late 20s. And in the Amish community, they always believe that you have to be married by a certain age, and she was already past that. And when Eli came into the picture, it changed everything, but she was also fighting the feeling like she didn't know if she should like him or love him or whatnot. Or she'll get these feelings like he was too wild and she shouldn't have nothing to do with him. And the more they spent time together, because of the circumstances in the community had pulled them together, they had started falling in love. But I won't go from there as far as how it ended, because it would ruin the ending. I did feel that the ending was a little rushed, but I felt at the same time it was just right, because it could happen to any of us now in this day and age of how fast we fall in love with people. So yeah, I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. And I would recommend this to anybody to read. The next one is The Marriage Mission by Pam Andrews. This had to deal with a missionary named Mac. He did a lot of missionary work in other countries, but the people he worked for said, "We need you to go to West Virginia. apparently he grew up and was raised in a town in West Virginia, but the city he was at that needed a minister was like a couple hours away from where he was at. And the young lady that he ran into, her name is Jenny. And it's almost like the same way how the other book turned out. Every time he turned around, or, they both turned around, they were always running into each other because she was full on, hands-on with the church. Since he was the minister, and he was going to be there for a year because that's how long it was going to last till the people decided they wanted to keep him. They started falling in love, even though they were fighting it. And yeah, that's pretty much how it was. Circumstances happened. They fell in love. They ended up getting married. I'm not going to go into too much of it because it'll spoil it. I did rate this 5 out of 5 stars because I also found this very inspiring and also a very relatable book. Besides the fact I like the picture of the front. Yeah. The next one is called Full Circle by Karen Young. It's a suspense novel. I felt it had a little bit of mystery in it. Because of the murders that happened in it. One specifically, the main character, Kate, there's more than one main character, but it revolved all around her mainly, because that's how the book started out with. Some things happened to her and her best friend when they were 6, and apparently when she was growing up, it was something that had been pushed back to the back of her mind, so she didn't remember anything. And then when she was working, because she works in the ER as one of the main doctors for, I can't remember how they put it. She started having flashbacks, and she couldn't understand what the flashbacks understood, which made her have trouble doing her job, which was dealing with the trauma that was coming in, where it basically got her fired because her work decided that she was not making good choices when it came to how to treat them. So she ended up taking a hiatus and moved back home to where her mom lived. And she was still having flashbacks. And her mom's, or her best friend's dad, who lived next door to her mom, was like a father figure to her. And he also runs a clinic in this small town where she grew up at. And, sorry if I'm saying a lot because I'm trying to remember. Had decided on a whim, because he felt like he was ready to retire, and though he had someone else in the clinic with him, another doctor, he wanted to hire Kate to help out in the clinic as well, because he was the one who taught her everything she knew about how to be a doctor. And he didn't want her to lose her way, so he said, come on, take me up on my offer. I could use some time away, see how life is on the retirement side before I fully quit. She started having flashbacks within a week or two, within waiting on patients, till it got to the point where she had to finally bring it up to her mom, because her best friend was having issues with her marriage, and that was also bringing up things. And then her best friend was going through all these turmoil issues with an abusive husband, a stepson who wanted to have sexual fantasies about her being in a relationship with her. So Kate and her best friend were dealing with a lot of trouble. And then one day Kate found her best friend's husband dead in his car in the driveway one morning, and everybody was looking at the wife. Oh, she did. She was the one who killed him. It wasn't her. Then her mom started becoming into the story more. Kate's mom was confessing a lot about what happened to Kate and Kate's best friend when they were 6, which made everything become more understandable why she was having flashbacks and why Kate's best friend was feeling a little out of whack with some things. And it came to that they found out at the end of the book who really killed Kate's best friend's husband. And at the end of the book, it even shows how the book got its name, and it was very understanding. So, but I rated this only 4 out of 5 stars because, because I felt halfway through the story, it just kind of like got boring for me. It was very slow going. At the very beginning, you would get right into it because it was fast paced, and then it slowed down because things started calming down in the story, and then they picked right back up again. And I didn't quite care for that, on how slow it got, when you would think in the middle of the book that things would pick up. But no, they slowed down, and that's why. The next book is Bachelor's Puzzle, Welcome to Tyler. This had to deal with the romance of 2 older people that were in their 50s. And it all sims around this town called Tyler. Elise, which is the main character outside of Robert. I had to look in the back of the book to remind myself what the names were. They're the 2 main characters in the book, and it revolves all around them. Robert is an architect, and Elise is the head librarian of the library in Tyler. She was working with Robert on building a new library for Tyler, because the library that they had was in a very old house that they had remodeled to make it look like a library, and it had, one of the rooms had, the pipe had busted, and was ruining a lot of stuff, so they had to try to work it out where the city would approve it so they can get the new library built. Elise's sister B was trying to cause problems between Elise and Robert. Because they were starting to have feelings for each other, but B was holding on so much to the past that she had to keep reminding Elise, hey, I'm the one stuck in the wheelchair, you're the one who put me here, you're the one who has to take care of me, blah, blah, blah. It was all about her. It was like Elise couldn't live her life, so she was making everybody's life a total living hell. And I think I'll leave it like that, because if I say any more, it'll ruin the whole story. But, I mean, you get the gist of it. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. Just because of the fact that B was such something else. I would call her name, but I know, I think you can get the idea that she was a real pain in the behind. And I just didn't quite care for it. I mean, it was a nice story, but no, it wasn't for me. The next one is Revolution and World Missions by K.P. Yahannan. This is a Christian story. The author, it was all based on the author. He talks about how growing up, his mother always prayed for one of her children to become more involved with the missionary and going out in the world and whatnot. And he was the last kid in the family, and he happened to be the one to start following God's word because he said so, and how he had to go all over, starting in where he was born at in India, which led him from one country to another in Asia, and then where he was able to come to America, live here for a while, and eventually led him back to Asia. I rated this 2 out of 5 stars. I just felt, even though it was very informative, it was on the boring side for me, just because I don't read too many stories like this, even though I read this once before years ago, but I wanted to refresh my memory on how it was. And the last book that I read, which I borrowed from the library because I heard so much about this, is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. It was a very good book, fast-paced, easy to get into it right from the start, and it kept you going. The only thing that I felt that turned me down just a little bit was how much the girl was affected by anxiety and OCD. I mean, it's a relatable story because of the fact that I know I've seen a therapist myself for multiple reasons, including anxiety. And this girl also sees a therapist for her anxiety and other things, but it pretty much led her from trying to live a normal life with these issues, and it was hurting her friends and family, which it was just her and her mom, because her father died when she was young. To where her friend decided, oh, let's solve a mystery about this guy, so on and so forth. But I would highly recommend that you go read this book so you can see what I'm talking about. The mystery ended up being solved. Things started being okay with everybody. And I did write down how many pages I read for the month. I read 1,748 pages for the month of May. And I found that really good. I wish I'd known to do this beforehand, because I probably read more than that in a month, between 2 and 3 books, because of how thick they were. But that'll be it, and y'all have a good weekend. Bye.